I almost didn't go. The camera had been glitching for 3 nights straight, flickering at 3:17 a.m., distorting the audio, freezing on frames that made no sense. I assumed it was just cheap hardware or bad Wi-Fi. After all, I'd bought it during a holiday sale, installed it myself on the back porch overlooking the yard and the old oak tree. It was supposed to make me feel safe. Instead, it made me uneasy. The third night was the worst. I woke up to a notification, motion detected. When I opened the app, the screen showed my backyard washed in pale infrared light. The swing set creaked slightly in the wind. Then the camera glitched. Static tore across the image. The timestamp scrambled. For half a second, the view zoomed in on the oak tree, not digitally, but as if the lens itself had moved closer. And there at the base of the tree stood something tall. Not moving. Not swaying with the wind. Just standing. I blinked and the image snapped back to normal. Empty yard, quiet night. I didn't sleep after that. The next morning, I unplugged the camera and drove it to a small electronics repair shop downtown. The sign outside read Miller Tech and Security. The place smelled like dust and solder, with old radios lining the shelves. Behind the counter stood a thin man in his late 50s, with wire-rimmed glasses and steady hands. "Can I help you?" he asked. "Yeah," I said, placing the camera on the counter. "It's been acting strange, glitching, zooming on its own." He gave a small nod. "Leave it with me for a few hours." I almost told him about the figure under the tree, but hearing it out loud would make it real, so I just said, "It's probably nothing." He didn't respond. I returned 3 hours later. The bell above the door jingled softly as I stepped inside. The technician was standing behind the counter again, but something about him had changed. His posture was stiff. His eyes were fixed on me as if he'd been waiting. "You need to take this," he said quietly, sliding the camera back across the counter. I frowned. "Did you figure out what's wrong with it?" He swallowed. Then he leaned forward and spoke in a low, urgent whisper. "You need to leave right now." I actually laughed. "What?" "Take it," he repeated, "and leave." My stomach tightened. "Why, what did you see?" He hesitated, just long enough to make my pulse spike. "There's nothing wrong with the hardware," he said carefully. "No malfunction, no interference. The zoom function wasn't triggered internally." "Then what?" He cut me off. "How long has it been happening?" "3 nights." His jaw clenched. "Listen to me," he said, his voice barely audible. "Your camera isn't glitching." A cold wave rolled through my chest. "Then what is it doing?" He glanced toward the shop's front windows, as if afraid someone might be watching. "It's responding." The word hung between us. "Responding to what?" I whispered. He didn't answer directly. Instead, he reached under the counter and pulled out a small monitor. He pressed play. The footage from my backyard filled the screen. The timestamp read 3:17 a.m. The oak tree stood motionless in grayscale night vision. Then the camera shifted. Not digitally, physically. The angle lowered slightly, as if nodding. The technician paused the footage. "Watch closely," he said. He zoomed in on the base of the tree. At first I saw nothing. Then my breath caught. There were indentations in the grass. Deep ones. As if something heavy had been standing there. The technician resumed the video. The indentations deepened. Slowly. Like invisible feet pressing into the ground. My heart slammed against my ribs. "That's not possible." "It gets worse," he said. The next clip showed something I hadn't noticed at home. The swing set. It wasn't swaying randomly. It was moving in a steady rhythm. Back, forth, back, forth, as if someone unseen were sitting on it. The technician stopped the video again. "I enhanced the audio," he said. A faint sound crackled through the speaker. Breathing. Slow, measured. Close to the microphone. I staggered back from the counter. "No," I muttered. "No, that someone must be." "There's no one there," he said sharply. "No heat signature. No distortion consistent with a physical body." My thoughts spiraled. Then what is it? He looked at me in a way that made my blood run cold. "I've seen this once before." The words felt heavy. "Where?" He hesitated. 3 years ago, a family brought in a security system with similar behavior. Motion alerts at the same time every night. Camera adjusting itself. Audio anomalies. "What happened to them?" His silence was louder than any answer. After a moment he spoke. "They moved. That's it." He met my eyes. "In a hurry." My pulse pounded in my ears. "This is some kind of prank," I said weakly. "You're messing with me." He didn't smile. "Go home," he said quietly. "Pack what matters. Stay somewhere else tonight." "You're serious?" "Yes." The bell above the shop door jingled as someone stepped inside. The technician flinched. His expression changed instantly, back to neutral, almost bored. "Have a nice day," he said loudly. I stood there frozen. "Go," he whispered without moving his lips. I grabbed the camera and walked out into the bright afternoon sun. The world felt wrong. Too bright. Too normal. I drove home on autopilot, replaying the footage in my mind. The indentations, the breathing, the swing. When I pulled into my driveway, everything looked ordinary. The oak tree stood still. The swing set was motionless. I told myself I was being paranoid. I went inside, set the camera on the kitchen table and paced. Maybe the technician was crazy. Maybe the footage was corrupted. Maybe. My phone buzzed. Motion detected. I stared at the notification. The camera was unplugged. Slowly, I turned toward the kitchen table. The camera sat exactly where I left it. Dark. Inactive. My phone buzzed again. Live view available. My hands trembled as I opened the app. The screen loaded. The view wasn't my backyard. It was my living room. From the corner near the ceiling. The camera angle was wrong. Impossible. The image showed me standing there, phone in hand. Watching. Behind me. Something shifted. Tall. Distorted. Too close. The breathing filled my speakers again. Slow. Measured. Right behind my ear. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. On the screen, the figure leaned closer. The image pixelated violently. Then the screen froze. A final notification appeared. Motion detected inside. And in the reflection of the darkened phone screen, I realized something horrifying. The breathing wasn't coming from the camera anymore. It was coming from right behind me.